Everyone is always talking about Sony and Microsoft when it comes to gaming acquisitions, but another massive group is a big player who has just made another group of purchases. One of the biggest groups in the entire video game industry is the Embracer Group. They have been continuously purchasing up studios, creating a massive catalog of IP that they're going to be able to draw from to continuously release games on a regular basis. And they have recently just made another big purchase, or another couple of big purchases, and this is just soon after they had those big purchases of the Crystal Dynamics, Square Enix Montreal, and Eidos Montreal, which gave them some really big IPs like Tomb Raider and Deus Ex. Now this purchase is a tiny bit smaller, but they have made 3 acquisitions, limited run games. The limited run games is extremely popular. They release these really cool physical editions of games that don't get physical editions, or older games, and they add in all of these extra collectibles. And I think they have done very, very well for themselves. And now they are going to be a part of the Embracer Group. You have Tuxedo Labs, which isn't really known for that many things. I think right now they're only working on this one game here called Teardown, and the description of this game, it says plan the perfect heist using creative problem solving, brute force, and everything around you. Teardown features a fully destructible and truly interactive environment where players' freedom and emergent gameplay are the driving mechanics. Tear down walls with explosives or vehicles to create shortcuts no one thought was possible. So it's a destruction game. You're blowing stuff up, kind of has that Minecraft style of graphics, but that is the main game here from Tuxedo Labs. And then they also went on and purchased Tripwire, which is a far bigger developer compared to Tuxedo Labs in terms of the stuff that they have released. You look at some of the games that they have released, and there are a lot of popular games from their catalog, such as Maneater, Chivalry, Killing Floor, and Killing Floor 2, and other games in here that I haven't really heard of, but I would say those 2-3 franchises are relatively popular, which gives the Embracer Group some more games to draw from to continue to expand on and release. And then on top of that, they went on and purchased the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit rights, which is going to give them access to the Lord of the Rings IP and pretty much do whatever they want with it, which will be a lot of things that they're going to be able to do. It says here the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit rights means that the Embracer now has control over movies, video games, board games, merchandising, stage productions, and even theme park rights for the entire Tolkien fantasy franchises, which is just huge because we've seen all of the Lord of the Rings stuff that's come out. It is a massive moneymaker, and they're going to be able to continue with that going forward. More games, more movies, more spin-offs, all of that type of stuff is now going to be under the Embracer Group. So they're continuing to expand. But if we take a look at everything that the Embracer Group holds, it's pretty massive. People are always talking about Sony. People are always talking about Microsoft, but the Embracer Group is a major competitor to both of those companies, and they could do a lot with all of the studios and games that they have. If they ever decided that they wanted to release an Xbox Game Pass competitor and put all of their IPs into the service on day one, I think they would have something pretty substantial here that people would be interested in checking out. So we go down here, we look at all of the studios that they own. Some of the major ones, like I mentioned, were the recent Square Enix purchases of Eidos Montreal, Square Enix Montreal, and Crystal Dynamics with Tomb Raider and Deus Ex and Legacy of Kain. These are just massive games that they are going to have access to. But that's just the recent stuff. I mean, this all started with Nordic Game Publishing getting the THQ assets when they filed for bankruptcy, with Lars Wingfors, and then publishing Darksiders 3 and Biomutant, and THQ Nordic was created, and just a bunch of stuff that was going on that really increased the value of the Embracer Group. They continued to go on and make a bunch of other purchases. And in 2018, that was a massive year for them. They purchased Koch Media, which owns Deep Silver, which is who's about to release, published the new Saints Row reboot, which I think looks really good. They've been very transparent on their gameplay and everything that's going on with that game. So I think it's going to be one of those games that surprises a lot of people. I know when they announced Saints Row, people were thinking that it was just too much different than where the games were previously, but it still looks like it has that wacky humor. You can literally create anybody that you want in that game, and the gameplay overall from what we've seen looks like a ton of fun. But they also own other stuff like Coffee Stain Holding, which does Goat Simulator, Saber Interactive and 4A Games with Metro, and New World Interactive with Insurgency. And then another company here, Flying Wild Hog, who does Shadow Warrior, but also is about to release, I think, one of the best looking and highly anticipated games in 2022, which is Evil West. It just recently got delayed to November, but still coming out in 2022. Extremely excited for that game. If you watch any of the gameplay of it, you watch that deep dive gameplay trailer that they did, game looks absolutely incredible. So I think that's going to be a massive hit. And all of these IPs that they're releasing, all of these games that continue to grow is going to help with the Embracer Group making more money and then go out and purchase more studios. It seems like they're really going on purchasing pretty much as many studios that they can get, from creating a huge variety of games, from big AAA style games to smaller, even mobile games, and even like singing games, all that type of stuff. But then there's also the biggest kicker of them all that a lot of people don't mention anymore, but it was huge when it happened, and that is Gearbox's Entertainment when they got Borderlands. Borderlands, massive IP that is going to be a continuous money maker for them. And then Aspire Media, that's another one that's pretty big, which they got it at the same time. And as we know, they are working on the Knights of the Old Republic remake. There is a lot wrong right now with that, as it's pretty much been delayed indefinitely. I don't know if Aspire was the right studio to go for that, but honestly, if that game does come out and it is huge, it's going to be just another massive release for the Embracer Group. But at the end of the day, the Embracer Group is growing. They continue to grow. They have a ton of IPs, and if you just go down the list of everything that they have, they could essentially release their own subscription service with all of their games coming in day one, and they would have a bunch of stuff for people to play and people to check out. So it's interesting how everything is shaping up. People always like to talk about Sony, people always like to talk about Microsoft or any other bigger names out there that make purchases, but the Embracer Group is always looking, and they're always making these smaller purchases, but smaller purchases from companies that have done some great things. I mean, even with the recent company like Limited Run Games, I think that is a very, very good purchase and a very good company that has been done very well for themselves and is continuing to grow. And they are now officially, they started just recently releasing games for Xbox, so they're continuing to grow the platforms that they've released their games on. But that's it for me, guys. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think the Embracer Group at any point could be a competitor to subscription services, to Game Pass, to PlayStation Plus, if they were to release their own subscription services? What do you think about these most recent acquisitions with Tripwire, Tuxedo Labs, and Limited Run Games? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here and you liked what you saw, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.